Hey, hello there. Welcome to the Stochastic.com NFL Strategy Show Showdown Edition. Tough game. Not going to sugarcoat it. Tough as hell. Rams, Seattle Seahawks. I mean, first of all, let's just be clear about one thing here. This game's awesome. Like, this is an awesome, awesome game if you're a football fan, right? It's tough to bet, in my opinion. 1.5 point spread. It's gone all over the place, back and forth a little bit, but hasn't moved past 1.5 on either side of this game, although it did move through 0 with the Devontae Adams news, which doesn't actually make sense because there was no way this guy was going to play based on Sean McVay's language earlier in the week. But man, Spags, Chris Spags, by the way, he needs no introduction. We'll go through all of this, dude, but just looking at it, these type of games are supremely difficult, and especially when you consider that like both teams are one receiver dependent in JSN and Puka Nacua. Both teams have stellar run defenses, and both teams operate out of a timeshare in the backfield. That includes the Rams now with Blake Corum's ascension in that backfield. So yeah, you have guys like Colby Parkinson and AJ Barner, but as much as we could probably dig into the numbers and be like, yeah, dude, Parkinson looking great today with no Adams, they're still running 3 tight ends. It's a really, really, really weird game, and we'll do our best to break it down. That's why you're here.
Yeah, it's great stuff here. I mean, Loughran and I were talking before the show when we realized we're having our usual pleasant conversation. We should probably actually save the football talk for the stream where we get paid to talk about the football stuff. I was saying to Loughran, and Loughran was doing his betting video, felt the same way. There's really not a lot of advantageous matchup situations here. I always talk about the EPA splits, run defense EPA, pass defense EPA, red zone run defense, underlying signs of weakness or strength for defense you can read into.
There's none.
It's negative across the board, like negative EPAs, and like not just negative EPAs, but like upper echelon top of the NFL for Seattle side. And for the Rams, they're better than league average in every category besides QB runs. And it's not going to be Sam Darnold's not going to turn into old Mike Vick back there. So I don't think that's a super advantageous spot for him. So I think there's really a good case. And you look at the total too. It just does seem like this should be playoff, almost like NFC North style football, more than NFC West. But these are what these two teams have been. They've been the best defenses in addition to being highly explosive, highly efficient offenses.
Yeah, man. It's a sick game. Like you got two teams jockeying for the top spot in the super competitive NFC West, save for the Arizona Cardinals. But still, right? You got 3 teams in that division with double-digit wins going into Week 16. It's a really tough. It's probably the toughest division in football, given the current state of the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Like one could maybe make an argument that it was the AFC West, but it's not. Is there a tougher, maybe the NFC North, but
yeah,
maybe.
I think I would go North, but yeah, Minnesota is definitely weighing them down a little bit this time there.
I guess North, given that there's 4 good teams and the West has 1 bad team. But as far as like true cream of the crop, the Rams right now, and maybe, I don't know, do you think the Seahawks are the real deal as far as like a true Super Bowl run is concerned?
I mean, the markets certainly do. I mean, Rams, a top odds getter to go to the Super Bowl, but Seahawks not that far behind. And, in this game, the Seahawks are a 1.5 point favorite, obviously at home, that'll cover that and why that spread is there. But I think for me personally, I think there are a couple QBs that are going to go into the playoffs that I would have a real, questioning, quizzical eye towards. I think Sam Darnold will be one of them. Drake May on the other side, the other conference would be another where I just think, regular season play being there, sure. But I think when the chips are on the line, these are 2 guys that I'm a little bit concerned about, especially as it relates to under pressure, how often they take pressure, how that pressure converts to sacks and negative EPAs. And I think for Sam Darnold, negative 0.5 EPA per pressured play this year. For comparison, on the other side, Matthew Stafford, the quintessential pro, negative 0.3 EPA, which is your upper tier of QBs, your Mahomeses, those guys are all around that range generally. For Darnold, I'm curious to see how he does today, because this is like a real test for him. I think he has played down a lot to these hyper competitive defensive spots. And that's my big issue with Seattle. Defense is awesome. Defense is like as shut down as anybody besides Denver.
Yeah. And last time they faced in week 11, Darnold got picked 4 times. It's really shocking that they lost that game by 2 points. Looking back on his performance, They had over 400 yards of total offense. It's like, how? And, and still only scored 19 points. And the defense actually held up remarkably well. If you go and look, I think the Rams only had one long sustained drive, Spags, and the rest were just great field position spots. But I have a lot of faith in McVay. This is a team I like, even without Adams. Mind you, Adams had caught 1 of 8 targets in that game. Puka had a solid enough outing, but their offense wasn't great. And one more thing, to address the weather before we get into this, I see people talking about the weather on Twitter. I saw a couple comments already in here. The weather, outside of a little bit of wind, that rain is supposed to stop well before kickoff. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. Actually, no, that's not true. The weather or the so what time would the game be local? Like 5 o'clock?
5:15.
5:15. Yeah, so there's supposed to be a little bit of rain, but it's not, from everything I saw, it's not supposed to be hard rain at that point or anything that's really going to be a huge problem. Anyway, if you guys don't mind, atone for your sins this fine morning, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. And if you're watching after the fact, if that hype option appears when you hit the thumbs up, yes, apparently that does good things for us and helps us. So we appreciate you. If you're listening in podcast form too, we know you're out there. We don't see you, but we smell you. Leave a rating, and I don't know what that means. Leave a
Silence
rating.
of the Lamb style. I can smell your inappropriate word.
Yeah.
Yeah, even I'm not going to say that at 10, 11 a.m.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Some people, I felt bad. The reason I typically watch my language, for the most part, I mean, things slip from time to time during these morning shows, as opposed to when you and I fully go off, like fully leave the reservation on Live Before Lock. Because we've had, we've gotten into the weeds at times on Live Before Live, is because I know a lot of people are like driving their kids to daycare or school or stuff, on the West Coast. And I get those comments often. So, yeah, there's that. But
yeah, I go the other way generally. I've had a few people be like, "Oh, I love the show, but the profanity." I'm like, I just will reply with an F-bomb at that point, because it's like, at that, yeah, this is not my audience. I'm going to talk the way that I talk usually, but when you're on Stochastic, there is a certain credibility here. The little award things, the little laurels around it. That's what Stochastic is. You got to be classier here, especially at 10 a.m.
I didn't get that memo, but I do try. I try and be a little bit respectful at times. But anyway, you know what I was thinking about this game, and you guys too. Let us know in the comments if you think there's angles here that can be exploited. I'm always trying to see if there's like one way that a game could play out, even if it doesn't. But if it does, it could be good. It feels like this could be one of those games where both teams might actually involve their running backs in the passing game a little bit more. And that's kind of where I settled on in the betting market a bit. Obviously a very small play, but I wanted to take advantage of the boost that were handed out today. Like Seattle, and this isn't a surprise to me, Seattle, because their defense is so good at stopping the run and stopping the pass. They've allowed more targets and more receptions to the running back position than any team in the league this year. It's not, by the way, that's not because they're bad against running backs in the passing game. I think they're fifth most yards allowed. It's mostly because they can get to the quarterback, they can stop the run. Nobody's open downfield, right? So I think this is more so just a product of their defense is so good that other teams are just going to resort to dumping the ball off. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, though. The question is, like, will Kyren Williams be more involved in that respect? I could see it being the case. I just hate these timeshares, man. And then on the other hand, Kenneth Walker, like with Kenneth Walker, I think there's also pass catching upside in a spot like this, because outside of JSN, there aren't many guys they really trust. He's had a few good games receiving, but Walker on the ground has just been horrible lately.
Yeah, I mean, I've been vehemently anti Kenneth Walker when he's come up a lot, really, and it's not just Stochastic data, like industry-wide, the salary's too low. You compare it to how good Walker has been throughout his entire career, and he keeps popping up as a projection play, and he has failed miserably as chalk, as semi-chalk, as like a decently owned play last week, because he just gives up too much work to Charbonnet, rotating series. Also, when they get to the goal line, a lot of times it is Charbonnet coming in, taking that work away. And, last week, Walker straight out got out-snapped by Charbonnet. Just to give the exact snap count, because I think it's important to back that up with data. Walker, 25 snaps last week. Charbonnet, I believe, 33. Yeah, 33 snaps for Charbonnet. That's not great, but I actually think your point about Kyron's pretty good, and it does bear out too. The target rate to running backs, 19.2% target rate against the Seattle defense to running backs. That's one of the highest marks in the league, and I think actually is the highest mark in the league, as Laffy mentioned. So, for Kyron Williams, he's been really good in some of the spots where they have had to rely on him more, in the pass game. And certainly you'll have the 3 tight ends out there a lot, especially with no Devontae Adams. But Puka Nacua probably be covered as well as he possibly can be. And I think Kyron has shown that he can be a valuable part of the pass game when the other parts aren't working. And I know, Laffy, I know you're dying to see Puka get into the end zone this week, right? For his celebration that he mapped out with Aiden Ross and the crew.
Yeah. I didn't even hear about that until someone DM'd me something and I woke up to it this morning. I know. And then you got Puka saying that, what was he saying? Like sometimes he thinks the refs call stuff because they want to be on like they want to be part of the game, basically.
Yeah, and then they'll tell their group chat and be like, "Hey, did you guys see me on Sunday Night Football call?" So that was his theory, but yeah, maybe not one of the worst theories that came out.
Guess who's not getting any DPI calls go his way today?
No, and that's like a fine too. Like they'll fine him for that. The other stuff, the touchdown celebration, thing where a bit of a, inappropriate thing towards a certain ethnic group. We'll just keep it vague, I guess. Not great though. I don't know if Puka knew what he was doing with that. Like from what I saw from the clip, but I didn't see the whole thing.
A lot of times they don't, and I'm not saying he's dumb. What I am saying is, don't you think a lot of time, and I didn't watch this. I didn't even see the clip. So you know what? Forget about everything I'm saying as far as Puka Nacua is related. These guys get into trouble, even though I don't think they should, because they say stuff without understanding that like there's some type of political tension there. Like the Bijan Robinson thing. That was the most innocuous phrase ever. It meant nothing. That's what we called it as a kid. A lot of people did. He didn't say that to be offensive. And when he apologized on Twitter, he got ratioed to hell. Not because he said it, but because he apologized. And I think, I totally agree with that. He should never have apologized for that.
I mean, I used to call the game Tackle the Gentleman, so I don't.
You did not. What I'm saying, though, is I would never say that on live TV because I understand, like, the climate, right? And I don't care about the climate much. You know that. But, like, all I'm saying is these guys aren't saying it to be malicious. Like they just don't. They're also way younger. Like you and I, how old are you? I'm 30. I'll be 39 in a few months. I'm close to 40. You're around my age.
Yeah, I'm a little bit old. I turned 41 in October. So yeah.
Yeah. So who cares, man? Who cares? Unless you come out and you're saying like blatantly insane stuff, then sure. But for the most part, these guys don't know what they're saying.
You're just better off not streaming, I think, generally. Like, these guys all, like, are streamers now. And, like, Jaylen Brown, I think, has done okay with it. He's, like, the only one. Like, Michael Porter Jr., the team's like, you can't talk about what you're talking about. Like, it's just don't do it. You're making enough money, man.
I agree. Well, the Michael Porter Jr. stuff was wild. Like, he was just saying everything.
Yeah, he's a little oversharing for a player. Like, a person who's making that much money, you got to keep a little bit of awareness on the brand.
Yeah. But again, most people are normal people and don't get insulted and offended by everything. That's all it is. And I'll have to go and watch the Puka thing. I actually don't know what the celebration is. But,
I mean, I'll say it's just me putting on my reporter hat, the guy and the money hat. It's the covetous Jew, quote unquote. This is not my quote. Celebration, which I don't know if it's like a South Park reference or just like edgelord thing, but it was like you spin the football, which is supposed to be the dreidel. Then for some reason Puka would flex, and then he would do like the like I'm hoarding money kind of hands. So it's a lot of stereotypical things that people with the sensitivity of the world right now, people maybe not super stoked to see those flames being fanned, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's not a great idea.
No, it says out of all the times, like it's never a good idea, especially not. But to me, it just came across like, oh, edgelord, you're doing dated South Park kind of joke stuff. That's what I saw. I don't know Aiden Ross from a hole in the wall, Offie, but that's what I saw from the little bit of research I did, so I could talk about this somewhat intelligently if I had to.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, class act. That's why I try to bring it to. That's why we play Tackle the Gentleman here.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's Common Pennies had asked about the whole Blake Corum thing. I see what you're saying there too, with the whole idea that, and I'm talking about Common Pennies, that Blake Corum is getting a lot of work. It is a fantastic run defense for Seattle. The only reason, and the problem here, Common Pennies, because he said maybe we just go fade Blake Corum. Spags mentioned that Corum is getting goal line work and a decent amount of it. I mean, he scored 4 times over his last 3. He's getting a lot of opportunities inside the 10. I don't like this matchup for him at all, but at 4,800, a guy that has been seeing like double-digit carries in back-to-back games, you can't just write him off at sub 5K. That's like, but you could, if you wanted to argue that the kickers in this game are actually, even though the wind is a little bit concerning, that the kickers are better at a similar price point than Blake Corum, I kind of agree, because there's not just a world, but there's a likelihood, Spags, that if Blake Corum doesn't get into the end zone, he's like a 3 fantasy point game.
Yeah, and I think too with his recent results, it being again a Thursday night slate where you do get a slightly higher, preponderance of casual players. I think that Corum's recent success is going to be pretty high, on the radar for most people. They'll know the splits are pretty similar. Last week, Kyren played 39 snaps. Corum played 33. So again, it's pretty close, but I do think the team values Kyren more as a pass catcher. I mean, on the year, 0.8 targets a game for Corum compared to 2.6 for Kyren. And, frankly, Kyren's workload is not that great in the pass game either, but I think in a high leverage spot, I think he does get involved more there. And the target per out run a little bit higher for Kyren as well at 16% and change compared to 13% and change for Corum. So I think if there is more of an RB pass game involvement, I think that could get Kyren on the field more, could keep Corum down. And I'm with you, like the kickers, we'll see what the ownership is in the sim, but I think to me, kickers in a spot where the defenses should be good, but we believe, at least I believe, the offenses are good enough to move the ball and probably get into range for the kickers. I think kicker's pretty appealing. So if that makes Corum lesser owned, then maybe you want to play into it. But I just think Corum's going to be owned from people seeing the last couple of weeks.
I think you're right. Is this a game that could be played in between the 20s? Yeah, for sure. And I know that's kind of what you're alluding to, that the kickers might just also, and I know the weather could be somewhat of an issue. The ability to kick field goals now is just insane. Like, these guys, I'd said it throughout the week, but I said it to Ben on Tuesday in the first look show. I kind of hate the new kickoff rule, because in a game where you need a winning field goal, you could literally just pick up like 20 yards now and a guy's booting a 60-yarder with ease. So it's a little bit different. But this, let me see something here. Who was the kicker the other day on Sunday where they're bringing him out? This guy's got an insane leg. What team was that from? Like, they couldn't stop. Oh, you know who it was? The Saints kicker.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. Someone will tell me in chat. There was probably a Saints fan in here. What's going on with this? I'm telling you, they were gushing over this guy. Like, he can send it into orbit. Like that, they kept talking about. I don't know, admittedly, much about kickers.
Gaelic football kicker, Charlie Smythe or Smith.
I don't know. I thought that's who they were talking about. Yeah, I thought they were talking about the Colts kicker.
Yeah, Irish kicker. The team loves him, apparently.
Yeah, maybe he's just like a kind of hero around there. But
the Irish, I some of our closest friends here are Irish. I'll tell you what, man, the Irish are very loyal to their community, and boy, if anybody Irish does anything, they're like on board immediately. So I'm sure that helps.
You mean like actual Irish, like off the boat Irish?
Yeah, one of our closest family friends, who's like Luca's best friend at school. The dad is from Ireland, like moved here at like 25 or something.
I was going to say, I'm like 75% Irish, and I couldn't give two.
No, you're American Irish. You're like the SNL skit Irish, where you'd go over there and be like, oh, like Loughran, and you're like, expect people to know, like everybody in Ireland is going to be super stoked to see you. And it's like, that's American Irish, where it's like, that's not.
I would not expect anyone to be stoked to see me at all, but I also don't identify with that. So it's a little bit
But that's like the American Irish, like the Boston Irish, let's say. They go over there and they're like, yeah, this is the family. And it's like, you're not. You're not the same. No. You guys drink a lot. That much is true on both sides. But
yeah, no, I'm American. How about that? I'm just American. But
yeah,
it's genuinely true though. I have no connection like to anything out there. What does it matter to me? It'd be cool if I could like go find relatives. What am I going to do? Like, hey, nice to meet you. And then you just never talk to them again. Whatever. I don't know. Maybe I don't care enough, but you look at the top of the position at the flex. Sam Darnold, JSN, Puka Nacua, and we are overweight to Kyron. Again, I kind of like that just because with Devontae Adams not expected to play, what type of options do you have? Now, the one guy I'm wondering about, here he is, Colby Parkinson. There is a part of me right now, Spags, that thinks Colby Parkinson may just play an integral role in this offense. And that isn't just based off of a couple of games, but he actually seems pretty good. You know, he's made some sick grabs in the end zone. They seem to really like this guy. And I know that Ferguson's out there, but he hasn't really shown much at all. And Davis Allen is out there. But as far as like targets per route run go and who's actually been more involved in the passing game, and this is with Devontae Adams actually active where he's not expected to be tonight, Colby Parkinson has clearly made the biggest impact. And you may just need him in a game like today. So I know we're not getting a ton of him. We're below the field right now. I kind of like him today.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that when you have the 20 plus fantasy point day last time out, it does put you a little more on people's radar. But I agree, like he deserves it. I mean, he played 60 plus snaps last week. You're talking about as much as anybody on the team at that point, and he is commanding on the year a 25% target per out run rate, 1.6 red zone targets a game. So he will be your number 2 red zone target earner. Actually, well, now with Devontae Adams, he's going to be your number 1. But on the year, behind Devontae Adams at 2.3 is the only guy he's not getting as many targets as. So that role's been good. I think Parkinson is playing a lot, and certainly the target share is there. And we have seen before Matthew Stafford last year when Higbee came back in. Higbee had like a 35% target per out run rate for the 2.5 games he played. That continued on into the playoffs. He does sometimes, Stafford, that is lock on to a tight end, and I think that's been the case for the underlying data with Parkinson. So I think he's the strongest tight end play. I'm with you on that. I do think, though, like if you're going to have Davis Allen and also have Ferguson playing 50 snaps, it just comes down to what people are playing the most and rolling the dice. But I think Parkinson's the best play out of the group. It's just, does the field go to him a little bit more than it might seem?
Yeah. I see what you're saying for sure, but I don't know if 30% is all that much on a slate like this, because I don't really know who stands out outside of the obvious. Like JSN is just amazing. Puka Nacua has a 7.5 receptions prop today, which is ridiculous. Those are just type of guys that whether you like the matchup or not, and I don't think either of us would say that we love the matchup in these games. It's just kind of like it's a necessary evil in a game like this. And that's not to say that you need both of them in every single lineup. Certainly not. But I do think there's an element of like, listen, these guys are awesome. They're heavily involved. They're just going to get there. I'll tell you something crazy though about Colby Parkinson. Over the last 5 games, so going back to actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, over the last 6 games, Colby Parkinson, not Devontae Adams, leads the Rams in red zone targets. He has 15 red zone targets over the last 6 games, Spags. 15. He has 7 inside of the 10. Adams has 12 in the red zone, 10 inside the 10, so 3 more than Parkinson, but that's an insane number. I mean, it just goes to show you that as far as like, okay, so there have been 27, 28, 29, 30, 36, 38 targets in the red zone from Stafford over the last 6 games. 27 are between Colby Parkinson and Devontae Adams, and Devontae Adams isn't going to play. So I do think even in what's projected to be a low-scoring game, the touchdown equity at that price point for a guy like Parkinson can't be ignored.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, for him to get up to 1.6 red zone targets a game, I figured he had to run hot, but that definitely puts it into more context of how, hot he's been running. But yeah, I think the underlying target rate is there. The fact that it spikes in the red zone, I mean, he gets at least the occasional deep target as well. It's been a pretty good role. I wish in some respect that we didn't have, frankly, it helped me out a lot in best ball. So I wish that game existed because I somehow had a Colby Parkinson team advance. But when you get that 20 fantasy point day, it puts him really on the radar, I think, for today. And I do wonder if, going cheaper, playing the kickers that are right around him, you have some real live pivots. And if the ownership is going to hold at 30, great. If it gets closer to 40, which I think it could, I think that's where you wonder what else is around there. Do you just want to roll the dice with Allen and Ferguson more? Because I think he's been good, but I think it's pretty obvious now that he's been good.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm more so just making a case for why you could have a good Parkinson game today and why he is getting ownership, right? And you need that 247 says Parkinson regression incoming. Totally possible. But the volume to me in the red zone is something that's not really fluky, right? Like clearly, and you want to know why I don't think it's fluky? I don't think there's a person on earth that would disagree with this. Is there another quarterback out there that when he finds something he likes, he locks into it more than Matthew Stafford?
Well, yeah. I mean, well, it's also because he's got to keep himself safe. And if Parkinson's getting open at, relatively low ADOT, 3.4 air yards per target, like that's his safety valve. So like, we saw it with Phillip Rivers really pronouncedly last week, versus Seattle, but just getting that ball out was really the skill over and over again. I think he had like a 2.2 second release time, something insane like that. For Stafford, it's the same thing. Like it's either the running back or more likely Parkinson is going to be like that guy that keeps him clean. So yeah, I think it makes sense, how the game should go as well with the Seahawks being a team that's going to hurry the QB a lot. So I'm with you.
AFC Angelo. Corum, they really seem to like. Also, it keeps the workload down for Kyron as they move into the real playoff push. I like Corum a lot here and definitely has 1+ touchdown upside. This could be the goal line quarterback. I agree with the last part about the goal line running back, but I would disagree that this is not the real playoff push. I mean, this game is wildly important. I mean, if you go and look back at the end of the season, Spags, whoever gets the number 1 seed, and I'm not saying it's guaranteed to be one of these two teams, but this game could be the deciding factor between all of that,
Yeah, I mean, this could be what dictates who gets the bye. I mean, this could be what dictates who wins the West. It could also be important for, avoiding a tougher opponent. Like there's a lot of things in play. And at this point, I mean, what, Bears 10-4, Eagles 9-5. I would say, I don't know what the odds are offhand, but I would think the winner of the NFC West is pretty likely to be the bye week team. So this is like kind of like a playoff game.
Yeah, man. Mr. What's up, Go Blue? How steam will Kobe get based on recent numbers? Spags mentioned it. He'll definitely be owned. There's no doubt about that. But his props aren't crazy. Like, you think he has a 3.5 reception prop, juice pretty heavy to the over, and 38.5 receiving yards. That's not insane at all. His touchdown prop, let's see what his touchdown prop is. This will be interesting. He's still, plus 225, plus 220. That's not that crazy at all. I would have thought that he had shorter odds, if we're being honest.
And that's sort of what I'm trying to say with him is like, I think the underlying numbers are impressive, but I think when you have a pretty big box score game last week and a situation where I think people will figure out like, the red zone stats you pointed out, I think people maybe don't get that deep, but they'll know that like Devontae Adams being out, you'll find out he's the number 2 target earner in the red zone. And like, that's just where it's the shitty part of Showdown where it's like, if it's a main slate, I think we're talking about Parkinson and going like, oh, pretty fun to play him. On a Showdown, you almost have to like really critique the plays that are good plays that probably more volatile than people realize. And I think the market data shows that he's potentially a lot more volatile than I think people might realize.
For sure. His receptions prop is up to 4.5, but juice to the under. Yeah, you're right. Even like surface level analysis will tell you that he should get more work with no Devontae Adams today. I'm with you. Also, it's just a really tough match. It's a tough game. It could be very low scoring too. So I guess I'm not shocked that his touchdown is plus 220. Before we get to the captain spot, any other guys that you want to dig into a little bit here? I think we do need to we're going to spend time on the cheap. We still got plenty of time. We're going to spend time on some of these cheap guys, which quite frankly, none of them look all that good, but they're cheap and we're just going to mix and match unless Spags has a diamond in the rough. But let's break down this backfield for Seattle because we've seen them get ownership. We've seen them project well. And, a lot of people are like, man, the Sims keep being wrong on Kenneth Walker. And it's like, well, if you look at Kenneth Walker's props every week, his props have been just still really good. And he underwhelms every time. I know you were not high on him last week, so shout out to you. But at the same time, you would think that his props would get adjusted down pretty steeply, and they don't, which is weird.
Yeah, I think the issue for me with Walker, and it's something that unfortunately occurred for my sweet boy Bucky Irving this past week too, if you're not guaranteed goal line work, you're not guaranteed that touch inside the 10-yard line when you're fantastic, maybe even like between the 20s. It is tough to sort of trust if you're going to be owned, especially. I think you're generally going to be better off playing, into the other side of that volatility then, and saying that he doesn't get the goal line work, that Charbonnet steals touchdowns, which has been the case multiple times. But I think for Walker, with market data that, will generally default to the longer term sample size, I think the biggest issue is that Walker, long term has been a good player, has broken enough touchdowns, and also has had a pretty good red zone role. I mean, this year he is still getting 2.3 red zone opportunities a game, but that's, less than the 2.8 Charbonnet gets. I think to me, the biggest thing is like, if the field's going to play Walker, I don't really want to play him. If the field were going to play Walker, I think you want to try and get a little bit more in and have that upside. But the field today, 26% expected ownership for Walker in the flex, Charbonnet at 15. I'd probably go Charbonnet again, and I would just keep going Charbonnet until the field flips that ownership and Walker is like the lesser owned play, because Charbonnet outsnapped him again last week and keeps getting more red zone work. And I think at a certain point, you just have to look at what the last 6 weeks have been as opposed to what Walker's entire career has been.
I just have no opinion in this backfield right now. I don't, because there's a part of me that keeps saying there's like Walker can't stay down forever. And, eventually he has to have that game, but that's also just like, that's just in useless intuitive thinking. Like there's nothing there. It's just me going, how does he keep having such bad games? And eventually he won't. But if Walker's ownership were to be down significantly, yeah, I would definitely like to get to more Kenneth Walker. I do think he could have some involvement in the passing game today, though. I can't help but wonder, like, knowing Sam Darnold threw 4 picks last time and has struggled in this matchup, could he just kind of use Kenneth Walker as an outlet there? And if that's the case, those type of points in a game like this where he's sub 8K at the flex could be valuable. I mean, do you know, take a guess what Zach Charbonnet's receiving prop is today?
I mean, it's got to be low because like Walker's getting about 2x the targets he's getting per route run, 20% compared to 11% for Charbonnet. Charbonnet's his yardage for receiving, is that what we're guessing?
Yeah.
8.5.
1.5.
Ooh.
And on Bet365, it's half a yard. So essentially, like, does he catch a pass? And is it a positive yardage pass? It's kind of wild, right? Like, they're just essentially projected for nothing there. Kenneth Walker's at 10.5, 11.5, which fine for me, but yeah, there's just not a lot going to Charbonnet right now. You need the touchdowns there. Tough matchup, tough game. It's just a really tough game. And I think I will have a good amount of the kickers on both sides. Right now, we're not getting a ton of them, but I would not be surprised to see that change.
I mean, maybe the thing is just playing the different RBs based upon, and we always do the classic telling a story with your lineup kind of thing, which has been a DFS trope for years. Like really in this case, that might be it, where if Walker's going to get the work, in a pass game environment, in a situation where Seattle's playing from behind, the market's basically saying that Charbonnet has no pass game role, most likely, but Walker has some. Maybe in a game where it's competitive and you're expecting, the Seahawks to get in position a lot in the red zone, I think that's more of a Charbonnet lineup. Whereas if you're playing, Seattle playing from behind, you have Darnold in there, like that kind of stuff. Maybe that's where you go to Walker more. I think that's perfect math, but maybe just one way to try to play these running backs more intelligently as opposed to just taking them where you get them. Yeah.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Because how do you really decipher who's better than? Okay, I will say this much: Kyren Williams is my favorite running back on the slate. Still, I'll go as far as to say I do like Kyren more than these other guys, and I do think if there's someone that could get elevated pass catching work today, despite the fact that both of these teams don't really frequently target their running backs in the passing game, the absence of Devonta Adams, I think, could make a little bit of sense here, and I do like Kyren, but I don't love any of these guys.
No, I mean, if you told me that nobody at RB besides Kyren made a winning lineup, I don't think that would be too shocking to me. You don't want to fade these guys entirely. And I think certainly with Walker, hopping off the train, if you've played him the last month, I think now's not the time to do it because people will play him enough just on the nature of it being a showdown slate. But yeah, I'm with you. Like, I think hiring, I think there's opportunity that could be bigger here. And even with it being a bad matchup, like, I think it could be good for him in terms of volume and how the Rams play in adverse conditions. The other guys, they might just get entirely shut down.
It could be the case. Top Boy, thanks for the super chat. Stafford or Burrow for my playoff matchup? Oh, man. Listen, I'll tell you what. Is it Matt had 130 yards at home last time? Burrow looks depressed. Or Cousins and Pitts against Arizona? I don't know where Spags is going to go here, but I will say it is still Joe Burrow for me. He said he needs to find a way to have fun again. Well, here's how you have fun. You face the Miami Dolphins defense. I mean, seriously, if you come in and you get – there's a difference between a Miami team that is starting Quinn Ewers this week and was just punished on prime time in a game where the play calling by Mike McDaniels and the clock management was possibly the worst of the entire year by any coach who is still with or without the team. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. That team stinks, and the defense is bad. And I know there's all of this, everything around Burrow right now. Like, is he going to be back? Is he going to pull an Andrew Luck and retire? Is he going to pull a Carson Palmer, demand a trade, retire, go to the Raiders? I'd still go Burrow here.
I mean, it's a game with a 50-point total. Did you know, because I haven't dug in too deep for the week prep yet, or the main slate prep, Miami a 1.5-point favorite in this game at home.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They're 4.5-point dogs.
No, did I pull this in wrong?
You had to have, because there's no chance. They're 4.5-point dogs.
26. I have it. It's 26, 24.5.
No.
Yeah, Miami favored by 1.5.
They're not.
Are you fucking with me?
No, dude. Miami's not favored in this game. I'm telling you right now, they're not favored in this game.
Hold on. Let me go. I'm pulling in my.
You're just gonna have to take my word on this one. Before Tua was out, they were 2.5-point dogs, and then once the quarterback change came in, that moved the 2.5 moved to 4.
No, you're right. What happened?
Yeah, I watched it happen in real time while I was on a show.
Huh. This is weird. I had it. Did it open at Miami favored by 1.5?
It probably did. Yes. Like,
okay.
It would not shock me if Miami opened as marginal favorites at all. That wouldn't surprise me. It probably did, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I have an automation that didn't run, so that's why I didn't get the update. But I didn't realize. So it opened at -1.5. Then, well, I was like, boy, that's a lot of faith in Quinn Ewers, huh? So
yeah,
that makes more sense. Yeah.
Okay. I'd still go Burrow here.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I think Burrow's a good play. I mean, look, Miami's still giving up an 87% catchable ball rate, which is really the main thing. If Quinn Ewers were favorite, I'd be like, oh, Burrow still. But yeah, 4-point favorite on the road here. Get well spot. Yeah, Burrow by a mile.
Yep. Need that 247. Teams coming off getting shut out are a lock historically. They're not a lock, but yeah, if you're talking about against the spread, the overall historical record of teams coming off of a shutout loss is phenomenal. It's really, really good. So I'm with you there, but it's not. I mean, it's not a lock. Would you be shocked? Need that 247 if the Raiders got their dicks kicked in today this week against Houston? I wouldn't. If I'm betting that, I'd probably still take the Raiders, just given that they're coming off of a loss and Geno's expected back or a shutout. But yeah, as far as like keeping games competitive, teams coming off of a shutout are historically positioned very well the next game. That's why I do like the Bengals. But anyway, getting back to this one, the captain spot gives us, here you go, Nakua and JSN. I get it, but I'm not going to lie to you, Spags. There's a part of me that wants to get to some defenses at captain, and not a lot, but we're getting about 5% Rams, 3% Seahawks. If you're playing 150 plus lineups, or even 20, 30 lineups, I don't think it's crazy at all to have some exposure to kind of obscure captains if this game goes super defense heavy. I mean, we saw, you and I were both wrong. I said I thought I was going to go real heavy on Achane at the captain. You were saying Jalen Waddle would be the favorite pivot. Ended up being Jonnu Smith.
I mean, I see that's one of those things where like that's what I hate, and I think people struggle with the most of showdowns, myself included, because it's how it goes. But I got right Miami pass game. It was just Waddle was dog shit, and Darren Waller put up 2 garbage time touchdowns when they should have just been playing the scrubs at that point of the game. So that's the fun of showdowns.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is like that. And that was up until super late in that game, Jonnu had no path. And then it was just, or not, I'm sorry, not John. I didn't mean Jonnu. You know who I meant.
Waller. Yeah. Waller.
Waller's my fault. But yeah. Well, crazy. Although Johnny did have a rushing touchdown, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, that was like the funny bit by Arthur Smith in that game where it's like, okay, so we have chalk tight ends this week. People are playing Freiermuth. People are playing Darnell. Let's give 2 rushing touchdowns to Connor Hayward and Johnny Smith collectively. And that's the funny bits that he does for DFS.
Yeah. But all right. So are you on board with Puka and JSN being your highest exposed captains? Or is this a spot where you would actually look to get different and not only mix it up, but also have some other captains down there where Puka and JSN are not your highest exposed captains? That's pretty much what I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, the Sims certainly are right there with it. I mean, we're talking about 60% combined ownership between Puka and JSN. And this is, 2 players too, where these guys have been, data darlings, not just in stochastic data, but industry-wide stuff coming up all the time as like must-have plays across main slates. So I'm not surprised to see them be, our top 2 options here, especially, full point PPR, on DraftKings. But I do think, you're probably to get both guys played in a lot of lineups, certainly with the total being what it is, with the matchups being 2 defensive heavy teams, especially on Seattle's side that create a ton of pressure. It just does feel to me like playing more into that game script of, competitive field goal heavy kind of game seems like the move. But I still want to be there with these guys because like they're so talented. Their projections every week are so much higher. And certainly for Puka, now you have that full JSN level run out where there really isn't a wide receiver 2 that's going to matter. Puka will probably get as many targets as he can stomach. And JSN, we have seen Shaheed get a little more involved. Cup's still out there. Barner's still out there a good amount. Their entire offense is able to go. So I think there's cases to be made for both guys generally. But yeah, if the Sims tell me that they're good chalk, I just want to play the chalk.
I'm with you. Fun question from Clayton. What would a good captain mix be in a 3-max? Yeah, I mean, Puka and JSN are pretty obvious there. If we're looking for somebody that's maybe a little bit more of an obscure option, I do like Kyron. I mean, Kyron right now, we're projecting for 3% ownership at captain. I think a lot of people are worried about the Blake Corum role, and I understand that. I do. And the fact that Blake Corum gets mixed in goal-to-go situations. But Kyron just, every week he has the ability to break a slate. And we've seen him do it on multiple occasions. He's not he's not cheap, but he's also not expensive. Like he's sub 10K at the flex. He's 14.7 at captain, which is way cheaper than Puka Nacua and JSN. My other guy would be Kyron Williams here. And I think the fact that people are hesitant because of Blake Corum makes me like him a little bit more here.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm the exact same page as you. I mean, and also that happens to be what the Sim is giving, where it's Puka, JSN, both around 30% owned to captain, and then Kyron is your number 3 owned captain at 6%. So definitely a chasm between those guys. But I fully agree that Kyron looks under-owned, like 3% captain ownership for a guy that has a tangible ceiling, and really the ownership looks flat for Kyron and Corum, across the flex and captain. I just don't think that's correct. I think Kyron's the guy in this game script. You pointed it out first, and I think it's really now stuck in my brain. Like Kyron in the past game, I don't think people are playing that, at least based on the ownership right now, not going to be played as much as it should be.
That's kind of, yeah, right. And will it work out? Who knows? But Stafford may have to look elsewhere in this game. Brady, Corum or Mevis? It's really tough. Like if I'm building a lineup with all skill players, playing for a high scoring game, and I'm not trying to take the easy way out here, probably Corum, but I really don't mind the kickers in a game like this. And I think these guys are, how do we have them projecting? Here's a good question for you. Let's see. We have Corum projected for 7.72. And Mevis projected for 7.88. I mean, they're neck and neck, Spags. Essentially the same price, essentially the same projection.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that, and I think the optimal rates too a little bit higher for Mevis, being slightly better projected, and he gets to play a fat kicker. So I don't know. I think it's Mevis.
That's fine. Yeah, Nigel Gruff from The Replacements.
He wasn't fat. He was just chain smoking.
feel like he was out of shape, not fat, but he was
Yeah,
definitely out of shape. Yeah.
he wasn't ripped.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Smoking on the field. Yeah, he's smoking on the field. One of my favorite sports movies, man. I love that.
it's so good. I mean, Shane Falco, he would not be the kind of QB I would want to back now, knowing what I know now of fantasy. But man, I love that style of QB when I was a kid, like the Shane Falco, Scott Mitchell, real life version of that. Just like statue shitty QBs who'll throw it up and probably end up playing terribly a lot. But he was great in that, for the replacement league.
You know what made that movie so great was the fact that like every character, every player had a super unique, like everything, from the Japanese O lineman to Nigel Gruff to all of them, they were all such a good movie, man. The deaf guy.
Did you know the deaf guy? You know what his famous role was? The deaf guy became like a very noteworthy actor later on in life.
No.
Roy from The Office.
Is that him? It is.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also he was in Peacemaker too recently as like as an important character.
Huh.
But I was like, wow, this guy's been doing this shit for a while, but I never realized he was in that movie.
Jon Favreau also had a phenomenal role in
crazy
that.
linebacker.
Gene Hackman. It was great. You know what I always thought about though? The girl in that, the cheerleader and Keanu Reeves, ultimately his girl in that. I don't think I've ever seen her in another movie.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say. I thought you were gonna say like how hot she was. Like I feel like she was like peak. Like, oh, you're 10 years old watching this movie. You're like, this. What a babe! This woman with short hair is.
She's pretty hot, yeah. But I've never seen her in anything else.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so let's do one. Yeah, Danny Bateman. I want that ball, Danny. Go get me that ball. Go get you the ball. That's so good.
I'm looking up that actress now, so I'm just gonna be fully distracted here. This came out in 2000.
Yeah, so I used to watch that with my dad, man. I was like one of our favorite movies to watch together.
I thought it was a 90s movie in my brain. Like really.
I mean, technically it is. 2000 is the same as the 90s in my opinion.
It has that spirit too.
Yeah.
That I feel like we're not so much the 2000s movies.
Yeah, even early 2000s kind of felt like the 90s. R. Petrino, any thoughts on weather, possible gusts of 20 to 40? This stadium's designed to, there's a lot of stadiums out there that are designed to handle wind. So you don't have these crazy swirling winds and stuff. It's actually, I don't think going to be that big of a deal. I really don't. We'll see. I mean, it is true though. This stadium is this has been a thing for a while. It's designed literally to keep in the sound and keep the wind out. So anyway, any other captain Spags before the last thing we're going to talk about here to make sure we leave no stone unturned on the strategy show is the cheap options that we haven't really dug into much, but any other captains that you think are just viable given super low ownership?
I mean, Parkinson, I think the chat's on him. I really do think he's going to be a little bit higher owned than, 5% at captain and, the 30% or so at flex, but I still think he is worth, considering just given the crush of targets he's gotten and the fact that his red zone role, should be there a little bit more with Devontae Adams. But Parkinson, I kind of think kicker is a little more in play for me at captain than usual. You mentioned defenses too. Like I'm willing to take that shot more than usual. But man, semis, it really just seems like besides Puka and JSN, you're just rolling the dice on whoever's going to be, decently simmed, I guess, when he gets a lock.
Maybe that's the move. You go underweight on Parkinson at flex and overweight at captain where he's only projected for 4% ownership. Right? Because as far as touchdown equity goes, if he doesn't score, you're probably just not going to want Parkinson anywhere. But if he ends up getting into the end zone twice and plays a similar role to Adams, in the red zone, the 2 touchdown game is not totally out of the question. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, that's sort of the way that he pulls away from the kickers who are priced right next to him, as well. Because if he's scoring touchdowns, tight end touchdowns, going to be closer to the box usually. That means they're not kicking field goals. So, I mean, I think that's perfect, correlation math, but I think there's something to there with how you play Parkinson. I mean, I always feel that way about showdowns.
We had a question too. Is the stochastic, can you still get the Sims with the sportsbook partner signups? That'll be back. We mix the rotation up a little bit from time to time, but you can always use the link in the description. Check out any weekly or monthly sub we have, whether it's core, whether it's max, whether it's all access, whatever it may be. There's something for everybody. And Spags, what I would like to do because we had a stochastic avatars have been everywhere this year in NFL. But what I would like to do is replicate what Jordan did on Sunday night in that Dallas-Minnesota game, 60K win. I know you talk about this stuff a lot with the Sims. Just like, why would you not want to get a competitive edge there, especially in, heading into 2026 DFS? It's not easy. It used to be so easy. You just needed to know a little bit about sports back then, and you could be better than the next guy. But I can't help but look at this lineup and think, if I'm not using the Sims, if I'm hand building, I never get to this lineup on my own. I mean, he had McCarthy as the MVP on FanDuel. It was a $60,000 win. And then he had both kickers, with the only skilled player attachment to McCarthy being Jalen Naylor, and then Dak Prescott with the CeeDee Lamb attachment. Like, who's building that by hand? No surprise at 160K, because the way these Sims work is that they're giving you lineups that are not going to be heavily duped, but lineups that, when they do well, win you a tournament. And you see that not only with the marquee stuff, with the high stakes, but also so many of these low stakes guys taking down these massive field tournaments with the Sims, because most people aren't using the Sims in low stakes tournaments, and it gives you a serious edge.
Yeah, and that lineup too. I mean, I played McCarthy captain, and I, was like, oh, cool, this will make me unique enough. I played Jefferson and Addison with it, and it's like, you're doing things that you think are unique enough as a human being, but if you're not running through a sim, you're not seeing that. That's probably a little more dupe than it should be, because when people are playing JJ McCarthy captain, they're like, oh, I can now play the chalk around this. And in reality, you still probably need to go one layer beyond, need to dig a little bit deeper in the classic Christopher Nolan movie style and incept yourself by playing fucking Jalen Naylor.
And it worked. That's not the first outlier game that Jalen Naylor's had this year either. He's done it a couple times.
No, yes. And McCarthy seems to like him more. It's the Jefferson year is baffling to me, because
what is
I don't think
on?
McCarthy's that bad. And they've had soft matchups a couple of weeks, and it's just, there's not force feeding Jefferson. And he's also not been good when he's had the ball either. It's not all roses for him either.
Did you see his salary this week against the Giants?
No, not yet.
He's 6K.
Man, that's another real soft matchup. Better for the running backs, but
still.
Yeah.
If he sucks this week, you may be getting like a $5,300 Justin Jefferson next week. I don't even know who they play. I mean, it is
Detroit, I think, right?
Is it Detroit next week?
I feel like it's something like that. My week 17 brain from best ball is unfortunately no longer all the way there.
You're probably right. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, Lions Vikings on Thursday, on the Thursday Christmas Day slate, the Netflix slate.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, they got screwed on that one. I think it's like Cowboys Commanders.
Yeah, they're paying so much money for this one slate, and it's Cowboys Commanders, Lions Vikings. That's so much less valuable. Yeah. And Broncos Chiefs. Oh,
I know, dude. Broncos Chiefs would have been a sick game too. And
that's brutal. Poor Netflix, huh?
Yeah, poor Netflix. It's kind of like when Prime took over Thursday Night Football, and the first year they took over, every single Thursday Night Football game was terrible. Like, I think it was probably it was either the Russell Wilson Broncos year where he was on 9 Thursday games, or it was the Aaron Rodgers Achilles year. It was one of those where they just had bad game after bad game, and it never got better. But yeah, it's crazy.
The highlight of those games was like the Color Rush uniforms.
Yeah, anyway, link down there if you want to check the Sims out, even if you want to poke around and see what subs you like the most. But yeah, we've just had, I mean, you can see it here really all week, all year long, just absurd type of wins. 3 milli wins already this season with the Sims tools. A ton of 6-figure wins, not just in main slates, but showdowns as well. The hits have keep coming. Let's hope we get more of them this week. I would personally like that for me. All right. The cheap guys, let's just filter through these and sort through the mess. You have guys like Whittington, Mumfield, Tutu Atwell, even Xavier Smith has played a little bit, but also on the same team. This is why it's so gross. Terrence Ferguson, Davis. So really, outside of Parkinson and Nakua and the running backs, you have Whittington, Mumfield, Atwell, Smith, Allen, and Ferguson. That's 6 guys, and I don't know if one of them actually separates himself and stands out. I'd almost rather look towards the tight ends just because they're on the field so often.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I mean, Allen 9% owned. He's shown better pass catching skills than I think what the Rams have him filed as. I think he's kind of been shunted down, kind of like a basketball player where guys come into the league and like they want to get a lot of usage, want to get a lot of shots up, and you have to settle in if you're not the star as like a 3-and-D guy. You're for the most part for most players. That's kind of where Davis Allen is as a tight end, where it's like he played hot his rookie year when he came in, thought he might be something. Then they signed Parkinson. They made additions around him, brought Higbee back, all that. And now he's kind of just a pure blocker, but he'll be out there 50 snaps. That's valuable. Ferguson, same thing. You're getting him 20% in the sim, so a little bit more than Davis Allen, but not a crazy amount of ownership. And Mumpfield played 30 snaps last week. People in the chat were asking about Tutu. He played 4 snaps. Like they clearly seemingly want to keep Mumpfield out there to some extent. Maybe that gets closer this week, but I think Mumpfield in play. And, I think people will go kind of like we talked about with Pittsburgh, the last slate for a showdown. Maybe people just end up locked into playing one Rams tight end, and then Mumpfield ends up being the guy that outscores him. I think that's probably his main kind of game theory reason for existing.
If you're just going off last week's numbers, yeah. Now, I do think that's always difficult because when a player gets injured mid-game and you have to make changes on the fly, sometimes when you've had several days to prepare, it could look different than it did, right? I used to use that all the time with NBA. If a guy would go down and then they return from the half with the starting lineup, but then they don't use that starting lineup their next game because they actually can go back to the drawing board. So there is that, and I'm always cautious about it. But I would agree. Like if Mumpfield was going to get work, and Tutu Atwell hasn't been used anyway. I think that could be the option. But also, I will just go back to it, circle back one more time. Outside of Parkinson, these tight ends are on the field a lot, man. They are on the field a lot. And I believe it's Ferguson who's been lining up in the slot more than any of these guys.
Yeah. He's been the one that they like using as the third tight end who actually is more of a receiver. And, on the year, he's getting targeted 16% of the time he's running a route, which is not as high as Parkinson is at 16. And Davis Allen, I think, is lower. Davis Allen, you know what? Davis Allen's 21% when he's actually running a route. It's interesting. So the guy that's like functionally a receiver is getting the least targets per route run. But they're all getting decent work. I mean, I don't know, man. I think Parkinson, I just really have a fear. Like he's the best play. He's been the best, most involved guy in the red zone overall. But like on a showdown slate, I just think playing more Davis Allen and Ferguson and hoping one of them outscores, if not both outscores. Parkinson, I'm willing to play that today.
Tyler, salary okay to leave on the table tonight? Sure, yeah. I mean, our highest sim ROI lineup is a Darnold, Barner, Kupp, Myers, Walker, Nakua lineup, leaving 1,500. Here's one leaving 1,000.
2,800 I've got.
Yeah, 800, nothing crazy. I'm not seeing anywhere you're leaving like 3,000 on the table. And I think naturally that's just going to be because Puka Nakua and JSN. Here's one with a JSN captain, Barner, Parkinson, Walker, Darnold. Actually, that leaves a lot, and that's really not that bad. It's a 5-1 Seahawks with Parkinson as your only run back. I actually don't hate that at all. Here's another one leaving 2,800 Spags with JSN, Kupp, Walker, Rams, Darnold, Seahawks. I mean, that's scary with the Rams defense, but it looks like a lot of the ones leaving a ton on the table are 5-1 Seahawks, believe it or not. Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
I think it's mostly because you're just not able to spend as much money on Seattle.
Right. The most duped lineup right now actually has a positive sim to ROI, but it's JSN, Barner, Myers, Nakua, Darnold, Ferguson. Yeah, I could absolutely see that being very popular. I mean, all of the most duped lineups, at least most of them, are going to have JSN or Nakua at captain for sure. They have to.
Yeah, and playing both guys because they're going to be where all the ownership congregates.
Right. Dalton Schultz, are Rams 5-1 stacks crazy? No, I don't think anything's crazy in this game.
No, I think you're going to get a lot of balanced builds. Onslaughts are never crazy when the field's going to be playing largely balanced builds because you'll just be unique for it. Even if you lose the money. I mean, if you want to lose the money, but you should be on a showdown.
All right, last thing before we go. I think we've covered everything outside of guys like Cooper Kupp and Rashid Shaheed and AJ Barner and these type of guys. So we have to do it. It's not fun, but Kupp will be on the field a lot. Rashid Shaheed will be on the field a lot. This team, at the very least, does have 3 receivers that are going to be out there. I can't tell you how many are just running wind sprints if you're Shaheed, but He has been a bit more involved. Cooper Kupp's $5,600. Rashid Shaheed's $6,600. Spags. That's kind of tough, but they are out there. And what's their ownership? By the way, while I look this up, feel free to break them down.
Yeah, I think for Shaheed and Kupp, I mean, you're talking about guys playing, mid 40 snaps. Last week, Shaheed got to, oops, hold on, I might not find it. Oh, you know what? Hold on, I'm selecting the wrong thing.
I got you. So he played 41.
Okay, so here we go. So that's the numbers there. These guys are playing a good amount overall. I think that for Shaheed, certainly the upside is going to be a little bit higher because Cooper Kupp does see mostly dust at this point. But frankly, I'm not sure that the upside is so large for Shaheed or Kupp. I'm willing to play these guys if I'm going to play Darnold without JSN, try to get unique. But in reality, it is a tough defensive matchup. Like I just don't see myself going nuts on Shaheed or Kupp. But based on the sim ownership right now, Shaheed coming in 13%, Fields at 22 or 21, let's say. Kupp, you're getting at 19%, Fields at 24. Does seem like the sims favoring Kupp. I think they're just the same guy, Shaheed and Kupp, even though they're very much not the same. Like what they represent on the slate, it's just JSN doesn't succeed. The pass game flows somewhere else, and it's not totally awful, I guess.
They're different archetypes, but they're the same in that like range of outcomes feels pretty similar on those guys, right? And that's the way I see it. I wouldn't mind just getting with the field there, honestly. Like here, there you go. Looking in the data hub, this is cool too. The data hub has all of this now. All of the top single game plays, like all of that we usually would go to another page for. So Shaheed, 16% optimal at captain. Cooper Kupp, 19. Shaheed, both of them, look, almost the same leverage, same captain ownership, same captain optimal. Look at that. Like they really are. Look, they really are, to your point, the same player today. Look at all of those. They're basically the exact same players, Spags.
Yeah, I mean, and it's easier just to kind of wrap that around. Like you mentioned, like they're totally different kinds of players. But for a showdown slate in general in DFS, just like treating them like they're the same guy, trying to get close to the ownership, equal. Like I think their ranges of outcomes and what they represent on the slate are exactly the same.
I like to see, this is backing up what I was talking about earlier. Kyron is positively leveraged at the captain spot too.
It's just such low ownership for a guy that could put up 30.
Definitely.
Like aren't a lot of guys that could do that in the game.
Definitely. And then your optimal rate, like captain optimal, look at that. 53% between Nakua and JSN. That's just crazy. That's a crazy number. Last thing for you, AJ Barner.
I mean, sim-wise, he's coming up at about a quarter of lineups in the flex. Fields at 35, though, so not a big stand. In terms of the matchup, is there any reason that I would like Barner more? No, I mean, Rams allowing a low 9% target rate to tight end. I guess league average efficiency, 0.25 EPA to tight end. Maybe he gets his normal 4 targets a game, and they're as valuable as they normally are, and the other guys are less valuable because the matchup's a little bit tougher on him. But I think Barner's just kind of a worse version of what we talked about with Kupp and Shaheed, where he's got more red zone equity, I guess, but definitely less explosive play upside, you would think. And he does get tush pushes. So that's actually a little bit of a plus for him.
That is true. Anyway, one more thing before we go. Make sure you're over there. Oh, a lot of you guys, I mentioned yesterday, Spags, we're trying to get to 1,000 ratings in the App Store for the Tails app before the end of the year. And a bunch of you guys shot over there. I saw the numbers and did that yesterday. So for any who did coming over from the strategy show, much appreciated. I think we'll get there. We're at 810. We need 190 to get to 1,000. It's a brand new app, man, and it's a great app, and it's an awesome platform, and we're having a ton of fun building it, and I hope you guys are enjoying using it. But look, just as an example, I got a boosted parlay for tonight's game. If you wanted to play this, you just click tail, find the best odds on whatever book you're at, click it, right? Select that, click tail parlay, add it straight into your bet slip. No work on your own. You don't have to do anything, right? The comments are open too. You can open so we can take the conversation off of YouTube, off of Twitter. Everybody you follow is all curated right here. So like, all right, let me see what Josh has got going on. Boom. He's got his contenders stuff up for NBA DFS today. All of this type of stuff is huge. And Josh just hit a six pick prize picks card the other day for NBA. So many sharp guys, a lot of DFS content too. If you're not a premium sub, that's another thing. The stochastic account too has been posting a lot of stuff too. I'm talking like you go in and you'll see all of the boom bust data and a lot of data that you can grab for free over there. Like from here for yesterday, and cheat sheets for the NBA Cup Championship. Or was that 2 days ago? I can't remember, but you get the point. And then, of course, you have all the leaderboards. You can see who's been crushing, whether it's most profit, who's on a heater, who's betting long shots. If you guys are, tournament players, you might like that. Who's trending, all that stuff. So download the app, come check it out. And if you haven't left us a 5-star rating and you enjoy it, appreciate you. But a lot of football tonight. We got basketball tonight. We got a lot going on. No better place to be than over there on Tails. I'm telling you right now, it'll change the way you bet. It'll change the way you take in information, and it's only going to keep getting better. So, Spags, anything else before we get out of here? Fun show as always.
Yeah, same here. And shout out on Tails real fast. This is not my account, but shout out to Splash Bets on there because with Stochastic changing some stuff over, there's now only one affiliate code to go around. And I had a promo code Splash for Stochastic DFS. They had it for Tails. I do want to shout them out because they were kind enough to give me promo code Splash because I've been shilling promo code Splash for fucking 4 years now. So I really don't want to start saying different ones.
That's like giving up your jersey to a grizzled vet that comes in at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I'm Chris Paul coming in, and they're going to kick me out probably.
Yeah. That's...
but check those guys out, if nothing else, because that was really kind, and I did appreciate it. So just want to give them a shout out. But check out my content as well, my @SplashPlay Pod channel for NFL, 12 p.m. I'll do a similar process here. Also check out some industry data, stuff like that. And I cover NBA Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. as well on my own channels. Check it out @SplashPlay Pod. You can find all the stuff on there. And shout out to Laffy. Always fun hanging out with you, my friend. Even though you play it a little bit less ribald at 10 a.m. than I do.
Wow. Anyway, appreciate you guys hanging. Spags, I'll see you before Christmas. I'll see you on Monday, right?
Yeah.
Monday live before lock.
Yeah, we got you then.
Yep. And NFL live before lock tonight. Everything you got going on for NBA, Josh's strategy show. If you missed that, go check that out as well. We will see you guys back here for the next one. Bye-bye.